Okay, so um, platform updates for the Skillable Studio platform. So normally we sort of use this to talk about stuff that was released in the previous month. For those that have been attending lab developer workshops recently, I know we didn't do one in July. And a lot of the things we've been talking about are really about getting components in place, infrastructure in place, scaffolding in place, so that we can start to build the next set of features in the Skillable Studio platform. And in reality, August was a bit of that as well. However, we are now at that point that we're going to start to release those features that we've been talking about, plus one or two other things that we've not been talking about. So really, what I'm going to talk and show about here is the stuff that's really coming out next month and will be accessible to you next month. But actually, the work's really been done, other than maybe one or two fixes that we've got to sort out, or one or two bits of coding just to fully iron out the process. So first and foremost, okay, we're now actually releasing something called the SCORM package downloader. So one of the things that a lot of customers struggle with is integrating Skillable with their LMS platform. If you want to use our native API, which is very powerful and allows you to build very rich workflows, it requires you to have some coding skill. Not all platforms necessarily support something like LTI. And there's a lot of platforms out there which maybe only support LTI 1.1 and not LTI 1.3. And therefore, people don't want to use LTI 1.1, it's depreciated now and so on. So one of the things we've actually done, and this was something that was always available for our platform, is actually the ability to launch labs via SCORM. Now, if you wanted to launch labs via SCORM before, you would have had to build your own SCORM packages. But now we have actually got a package builder built into the platform for you. So this is literally a no-code, low-friction way of being able to launch labs from Studio in your LMS platform. Okay, so really, really easy way to get that base integration going. Okay, so there's lots of customers that maybe have used our TMS because getting integration going wasn't as easy as they would like it to be. So this might be an alternative sort of route. So this is actually in the platform today. We are actually technically telling customers this is going to be available from the 11th of September. Okay, and the reason for that is there are two things that we need to change in the implementation. Okay, one of them, when I do a demonstration in a moment, you will see what we need to change. We've still got some diagnostic framework in there that our lab developers were using, and we need to get rid of that. So effectively, if we have got some customers testing this, but effectively, this will be available for customers that are interested from effectively the 11th of September. The other thing we've talked about, and we've actually shown some screenshots and things in previous lab developer workshops, is actually, again, from the 11th of September, the script library will be released in beta form. Okay, so this is something you would need to ask to get access to, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But actually, this is now coming out and it's being released, and it will be a full part of the platform certainly by the time we get to mid-October. Okay, but we are going into a bit of a beta phase to start with, just to make sure that it's got the features and functions that everybody's after. So this is really going to help customers with anything that's script related, so life cycle actions, activities, performance-based testing scripts, all those sort of things. The last thing I want to mention, just as a feature, okay, and actually technically this isn't a Studio feature, but it's connected heavily to a Studio feature. So a lot of you attended the May Lab Developer Workshop, and we actually worked with instruction sets. And if you remember from the May Lab Developer Workshop, we said that instruction sets were API only. So effectively, it was based on API integration, and you would have to modify your API integration. We did say on that Lab Developer Workshop, we would be enabling the ability to use instruction sets within the TMS. So instruction sets are now enabled in the TMS. That went live this week. So when you now create a course, you will actually have, when you put the activity, if the lab activity has multiple instruction sets, you will actually have an instruction set box which will allow you to pick the instruction set that you want to attach to that particular lab instance. Okay, so that's now out. It's now released. It's now available for you to use. There's nothing that actually needs to be done in your TMS environment to actually turn this on. It's available today. One of the things I personally think we've implemented, which is a really cool feature, is, let's say, for example, you've got a set of instructions in different languages. So let's say you've got English, French, and German. Okay. And you set your activity up. So you say, I want the default instruction set to be English. Okay. So someone comes along whose web browser's in English, they launch the lab, they get the English version of the instruction sets. Someone else comes along and their web browser's in French, so they see the French version of the TMS. Okay. Even though you said launch the English instructions, we detect that their browser is in French, and we've shown them the French version of TMS, and we see that there is a French copy of the instructions. So therefore, we actually launch the lab automatically with the French version of the instructions. Okay. If a user connected, let's say they were in Spanish and there isn't a Spanish set of instructions, then they would get the default, so they would get the English. Okay. So that's obviously how that's working. So this will be explored more in an up-and-coming operations manager event. Some of you have more likely attended those with Bev, so there will be an event coming up. I'm not sure if this is going to be a live session or whether this will be a recorded session, but watch out, there will be a session on using instruction sets from within the TMS. So I just wanted to really highlight that that's actually been onboarded as capability now, and that was released this week, so that's sort of hot off the press. Okay, so I want to talk about this SCORM package downloader and just explore this a little bit. So effectively, we wanted to make this a real low barrier, real easy entry for people being able to integrate an external system to be able to launch scalable labs. Now, like anything that's effectively a little bit of a low entry point, of course, it's not fully functional in terms of it doesn't take every feature of Skillable, like from a data perspective and things along those lines. Okay, but it's this ability to get integration working really fast, really quickly. Okay, so there is some configuration that needs to be done to actually get these up and running. We need an API consumer configured that's got SCORM launch enabled. We need to make sure that API consumer is connected to your organization. We need to make sure that the lab series is published to this API consumer as well and things. So there's a few steps. All of that work, except for one thing, okay, Skillable does for customers that want to take advantage of this feature. The only thing you would need to do as a customer from a configuration point of view is just actually add the lab series to the API consumer. So most of you will be familiar with adding or publishing lab series, maybe to the Skillable training management system API consumer, or maybe to your to another API consumer for some purpose. So you'll just need to add it to the SCORM one that you've got created. And then that's the only configuration step. Once those things are done, effectively, your lab profile, when you look at the actual lab profile itself, will get a new button, and it will just say download the SCORM package. Okay, you literally click that and it will download a zip file. So we will build the SCORM package for you. There's a couple of questions you get asked, but they're only minor. We'll see in a moment. And you can then take that to your LMS and just import it into your LMS, and you now have a SCORM launch capability. Okay, so I said there's a couple of other dialog box that you get when you actually press the SCORM package button. Okay, if the lab has multiple instruction sets, you will be asked which instruction set do you wish this launch to handle. Okay, so effectively each SCORM package is language specific. The SCORM package doesn't ask or prompt the user to select a language or anything along those lines. So if you did want to build a course in your LMS and you wanted to give people access, let's say, to English and the Spanish version, you might have to put obviously two course or two lab entries in, and then the user picks the one that they want, for example. Once you've pitched your language, if applicable, you then really get box 3. So box 3 allows you to change the title, so you can customize the title, because by default it ends up with the lab number followed by the lab name. So you might want to change that, so you can go and change that text. And the last piece that you would put in here is actually the domain name for your LMS. Okay, so when your LMS, when you connect to your LMS, what's the domain name that you use? And that's just used as one of the many security features. So effectively, we won't let a domain name that we don't recognize launch against your API consumer. So you have to tell us who that is. So that's actually something you only ever have to fill in once. However, if you fill it in multiple times, that's perfectly okay as well. That's not going to break anything. Okay. So let's have a little look at actually what this looks like. So I'm going to go through the whole process. Okay, just wait for my keyboard to wake up. My Bluetooth keyboard decided to go to sleep. I think that's the lab one. Okay, so here's the lab profile. You can see I've got the download SCORM package, so I'm just literally going to press the button. It's going to ask me which language do I want to pick and what ID, because I've got quite a few here. So let's pick on, I've been saying Spanish a lot, so let's pick on the German, okay, because I've not really said German much. So we'll pick on the beginner's German version, for example, okay. So I'm going to press OK. So this is where I could choose to go and change the title. So I might just get rid of the number piece at the beginning. I'm going to have that in German. I'm just going to change the title somehow. Here's where I would actually put in the domain. Now, I don't need to do this because obviously I've been using this quite a bit for testing and various other bits. But this is where you'd put your domain name for your LMS. So if I go up here, I'm going to use SCORM Cloud just as a way to upload the course and just show you the course launching and things. So effectively here is what I would enter is SCORM or cloud.scorm.com. Okay, that's what I would enter into that box. Oops, didn't mean to minimize that. So I'm just going to press the download button. Okay, and that's actually then hopefully going to build the package for me, and it's going to basically download the zip file to my machine. Okay, now this SCORM package is not encrypted, it's not sealed in any way. So if you wanted to open it and customize it, you absolutely can. Okay, so if you're used to using maybe tools like Articulate 360 and you can do a bit of SCORM customization, if you want to do that, go for it. Okay, you know, we don't mind. You know, at one point when we was first looking at this, we was going to have things like the Skillable logo pop up and stuff like that. We've got rid of all of those now, but we was then having conversations of, oh, could a customer change the logo? And you know, the product team was perfectly happy if customers wanted to do that. So I'm now just going to hit the add content. So this will be in your LMS, whether it's BenchPrep, Cornerstone, Saba, Moodle, whatever the process is for importing the SCORM package. So there's the one that I've just built, my current time. Okay, and I'll just press the import course button. So this will take about 10 to 15 seconds to go and import, depending on how it's performing. And then we should be at the point that we can effectively launch that lab. Okay, so there we go. So we've actually got the lab brought across. Okay, so obviously slightly how things might present will be dependent on your LMS, for example, and things. So I'm just going to press the launch button. Okay, having pressed the launch button, this is now going to sort of present me with this little box. Okay, so I'll come back to that box in a moment. So what you can actually see here, this is actually firing up in German. I picked the German instruction sets. You can see my browser is actually asking me if I want to translate the language, which obviously I don't want to leave it in German. Okay, if I go back to that box that popped up, this is the box that I was saying that is there for our lab developers at the our developers at the moment. Okay, so the reason this box is still there is it allows them to do things like open up the inspect tool while they're actually going through validating the code and the content that's being generated. So that's why when this is not being released until effectively the 11th of September, and that box would have disappeared by then. So all you would see is they click the launch button, a new tab will open up in the user's browser and the lab would be here. And you can see that I've got the German instance of this particular lab. So I'm just going to go in, because this is a bit of a scored lab, I'm just going to go in and fix the issue rather than actually physically go and fix it. And then we'll just go and submit this and grade it. Okay, so this will go off and do the grading. Now this will still show the score report and things along those lines. And of course, if I now go back into here, I now get the completion status, the success, all those bits and pieces. So John just posted a great question. So no login or SSO required for the student to launch. No, ultimately, when we do an API integration, because this is really just an API integration, we're just hiding it in some JavaScript in a SCORM package. The actual user that launches the lab doesn't actually have to log into our platform. So effectively, it's just using an API key to log into our platform. We do send some user data across that we get from your LMS so that we can identify the user and things. So just to show you, if I was just to come into the find lab instances here, it does know that it was me that launched that instance of the lab. This is my API consumer. Yeah, so the current time on my machine here, basically. But yeah, no login, no SSO. It's all done via API keys. Okay. So that's the SCORM package downloader, and then obviously a SCORM launch. So this is, a real easy way, no code, real easy way to actually get integration with an external LMS. So if anyone's got any other questions about that, feel free to put them into chat or unmute your mic. Otherwise, I'll move on. I'll just pause for a second in case someone does want to ask a question. Okay. One thing, I'm not making any promises here, okay, but I'm currently having conversations with our product team about the fact that we're going to extend this to support instructor monitoring. So if you're doing instructor-led, especially virtual instructor-led, you'll be able to use this SCORM tool for actually doing instructor-led and enabling the over-the-shoulder monitoring capabilities of our platform as well. Okay, so that's actually something that I'm in conversations with our product team, and they're quite excited about it. So hopefully, if I manage to convince them to do it, it's actually not a lot of work, because it's only a case of changing the API call a little bit. So that might be a real big bonus for this capability as well. Cool. So the other thing that we mentioned is really that those core features in Studio was the script library. Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about the script library. Something we've been chatting about occasionally. I remember on lab developer workshops we mentioned this back in March. So hopefully we're just bringing this to fruition. So again, something we've been talking about. We gave you early views of prototypes of this product through screenshots and mock-ups that we've been making, and I'm going to do the same again with some other things that we've got. So again, you're that trusted audience that we like to share these things early with. I was actually having, because obviously I lead the lab developer workshops, I was actually having a customer call yesterday, and they were asking about how do we find out about new features. So of course I was trying to sell the benefits of the lab developer workshop and all the secrets I give away on the lab developer workshop. So the script library, okay. So as it said, it's a library for storing scripts. So effectively, there's capability and features in our platform which we still feel are very significant differentiators. However, the technical barrier to actually taking advantage of those features can be quite high for some people. Scripting is not something that necessarily comes natively or even a skill they've got. A couple of customers I work with, when I deal with their SMEs are not SMEs in IT and Bash or PowerShell or anything along those lines. They're IT in media editing or medical appliances or whatever it might be. So they don't have this skill level. So really, the idea of the script library is it's to really increase the adoption of people using these technologies in our platform that need to use scripts. You know, and that's because an organization might develop scripts, and we now provide a really easy mechanism for them sharing those scripts amongst each other. Or, of course, this ability that, you know, we could create scripts and make them as sort of general templates for everybody to be able to consume as examples, starting points, and things that people can adapt. You know, you more than likely find a lot of people that will say, I can't script. If you give them a script that does something similar to what they want, they can modify it to get to where they want to be. And one of the things that we talk about quite a lot is cloud computing. And, you know, often we talk about Cloud Slice and we talk Azure and AWS and GCP, you know, really soon now. Okay. But in reality, our platform is so flexible, you can effectively bring your own cloud, you can bring your own web app, and we potentially can have, you know, content that's not only going to allow you to do training against it, but potentially score against it. And I say potentially because we're always dependent on what the capabilities of that app are. What APIs has it got? How can we actually get in there and integrate with it? So there is a dependency on that external system. But again, that barrier from a scripting point of view is quite high. So imagine again, you know, you've got maybe some SME, or maybe, you know, just to promote Tom a little bit, you might actually get the professional services team involved to create some scripts. And these are actually then going to be these core templates in your library. So, you know, that could be a really great way to use this. So we are going to be publishing central scripts. So effectively, there's going to be a set of templates, a bit like the template gallery today. Yeah, you've got the template gallery, which sort of lists all the templates we build, and then you've got like that little option for my organization's templates. And at that point, you could just get the lab profile templates that your organization has created. So think about this as really very similar concept. There's going to be generic scripts that Skillable is going to publish, plus you can also have your own organizational level set of scripts. So effectively, these are the ones that I'm creating for our organization, just to be shared across our organization. Our platform will not allow one of your organization scripts to be shared with another customer. And then we've made this really easy to add to existing activities and to lifecycle actions. And actually, in some way, you know, once this feature's turned on in your environment, you might even miss it. Hence the reason for some of the other things that we're going to do. We've actually made it so stealth so that it doesn't impact your workflow. You might not even notice the script library. So we need to fix that, and we've got a plan for that, which I'll share with you. The other thing is, it's not just like a list of scripts. There are a lot of additional fields associated with it, so you can put really good quality instructions about what does a user need to do to this script to actually modify it to use it in a real world context. So the idea is you can really template it. You know, so imagine, for example, you've got a script, really simple script, goes and checks the presence of a folder. Chances are you're setting a variable, let's say on line 2, that's got to specify the folder name. So you would put in the, you know, the descriptive text, okay, to use this script, modify line 2 and put the name of the folder that you want to actually go and check against. You know, so it's got all these supporting fields to be able to do those sorts of things. So if we have a look at a couple of the UI elements here, okay. Once this gets enabled, the first thing you'll notice is there will be a new tile appear on the home page. Okay, so this will be labeled as the script library, and this allows you to search for scripts. It also allows you to create scripts as well. Now, of course, if you create scripts to store in the script library, they will be stored in your organization's script library. You will not have the ability to create Skillable level public ones. Okay. Then when you're working with a lifecycle action or with an activity in the lab instructions, you will notice there's either a add from script library on a lifecycle action page, or there is an add from script library on an activity page. So almost a little bit covert. You might not actually notice it. Often I find when I'm developing scripts and I'm building a lifecycle action or an activity object, you know, because I'm used to what I'm doing. I just fill the forms in, and then I just drop down to the big box and start typing. So I'd miss everything that's changed in between. So I wouldn't spot that, those little boxes. Okay, so we need to fix that, as I say, and we have a plan. If you did go and create a script in the script library today, okay, or from the 11th of September, okay, this is the sort of box where you can obviously give it a name, you can put a description. This is where you put your guidance. So what does the user need to do when they use this script to actually get it to work? What do they need to modify in here? Okay, and then there are some primary use options, like is it for a scored activity? Is it for resource automation and things? So there's a few categories you can use, because obviously we can use those for searching, and that will be the same for keywords. So you can put your own sort of keywords in there to help people search for them and things along those lines. Okay, and then of course you've got what the target is, the language, and then you can of course put your script in here. So this little public slider up here, just for reference, you won't see this. Okay, this is just where we are at the moment with the product in development. That's the bit the internal Skillable people that have that permission will be able to sort of swipe to then make the script public. Okay, so it goes into the big public gallery that every customer would have access to. So once you've sort of created a script, you know, so this would be an example of something that's filled out. So actually you can see, got obviously nice descriptive text, really clear information about what you need to do to modify the script for it to be useful. So, you know, basically, you know, modify this variable on this line and so on and so forth. So it becomes really easy for the user to be able to take advantage of that. Okay, so that's really where we're going to be when we release this on the 11th of September. Towards the end of September, there'll be an update, and we're going to change the UI, because one of the things we've felt is if I go back to this screen, okay, what you're effectively doing is you're putting somebody straight into the empty scripting box, okay, and they're more than likely going to miss this add script from library type button and things. So we want this to be more about the workflow changing and actually really trying to convince you to say, get your libraries in the script, use the script library to improve your workflow performance. So when you say, I want to create a new automated activity, or I want to create a new lifecycle action, okay, you're actually going to get a screen similar to this. So it's going to say, do you want to basically choose from the script library, or it's going to say start from scratch initially. They're going to be the sort of two options. And we're trying to make the start from scratch, you know, really small, not the option you pick by default. Okay. Of course, if you hit start from scratch, you'll get a similar experience to what we had before. But the whole idea, hopefully, is you will pick the choose from script library because you've started to build the scripts up in your library, and then you will effectively have the script source. So this will actually show you the script. You will have all of the information about the script in terms of what you need to do to modify it, things along those lines. And then the script editor tab will actually then be where you would go to edit the script. And again, you can see the guidances in here, which will be telling you which lines to modify based on that guidance that was put in when the script was created. Okay. We always keep a soft link between the source script and the script that you're creating. Okay, and the reason for that is if you ever edit it and make a bit of a mess, let's say, for example, you've got a script, you've accidentally deleted too many brackets, or how many brackets do I need to put on the end of that command and things, you can always reference the script source by going back to the script source tab and actually checking how many brackets there were there. Okay, just to be 100% clear, this is a soft connection. Okay, so what I mean by that is somebody went and edited the source script in the script library, okay, that would have no impact on the scripts that you've used to create it. Okay, it would not change your script. Okay, so it's not like it's always inheriting those values. So if I edit the script in the script library, it'll go and modify all of my lab profiles. It won't do that. We're pretty sure that's going to break more stuff than it fixes. So that's hopefully what we're going to have in place by 21st of September. That's the plan that works on. And then the last part, which is going to hopefully be early October, is actually lighting up the build with Copilot. Okay, so again, those that have been attending lab developer workshops, we've been talking about AI. We've got AI stuff in our instruction panel now. And we gave you AI cheat sheets on how to use that. So AI chats, so virtual instructor type concept, as well as the AI technology. We're also then going to be able to use AI Copilot for you to get your scripts built for you. Okay, so you hit the Copilot button, and then effectively what you're going to get is a little sort of form where you're going to be able to go off and add what you'd like your script to do. So you can say, I would like it to check this service or this Linux daemon is running or is in a stop state or is disabled, and just put your list of criteria in here. Okay, what do you want to check? Okay, and then effectively we will have a generate script button, and we will go and build the script for you. So we will use effectively Azure OpenAI, and we will go out, we will generate the script, and we will pull the script back. Now, of course, that script is not going to be perfect. It's still going to require some adjustments, some tweaks, and it's not, for example, in this first release, which we're planning in October, it's not going to plug in things like the Skillable @lab token. So, for example, if you wanted it to reference the lab instance ID, you would have to go modify the script to plug that in, for example. Okay, but hopefully this is going to get you, at least that's sort of 70, 75% down the line. So that should be planned for October the 7th in terms of release. So if I say end of October, because obviously all these things potentially can change, as things crop up and what have you. But that's coming really, really soon. So just before I move on, anyone got any questions about obviously if they're thought of anything about the SCORM, feel free to fire away, or anything about the script library. Okay. I think just for complete clarity, we will not have really a lab developer workshop on the script library, just so everyone's aware, because the script library is just something we're going to be building more and more into the lab developer workshop. So it will just become one of those tools that you will be using as part of building labs in lab developer workshops and things. Okay, so that's really where we're going to be with that. Okay, just in case you're thinking, oh, I can't wait for the lab developer workshop. It's just going to be, threaded in the lab developer workshops. Okay, right. If you're interested in these features, script library, SCORM package, download tool, please reach out to support, reach out to your CSM, reach out to your account exec. The SCORM package stuff, we can enable it in a trial mode for you from effectively the 11th of September. So if you wanted to test that, put some SCORM packages in your in your LMS and give it a test to see if that's a way you want to go, then let's, absolutely, just reach out to us and let's get that enabled for you. Okay, we've just got to basically wait till, because it's actually working now, as you saw with my demonstrations. There's just that one box we want to get rid of, and there is going to be a security change. We're actually just going to make it, we've found a couple of ways we can improve the security, so we want to put those features in as well. The other thing, if you're interested in the script library, it did say it was beta. Again, reach out to us, okay? And when we get, we've got 2 features we've got to get put into the product for before we can let customers have access to it. One of them is a search tool, and the other one's security related. So effectively, if you want to, again, reach out to us, and then we can get the script library enabled in your tenant for that early September timeframe, and then you get the opportunity to give us some feedback and things before we sort of fully enable it for all customers. Okay.